Happy Monday. Happy Mock Draft Monday. Welcome back to the Pylon YouTube channel. The NFL season is about 10 weeks into the books. And for a lot of teams that the season has been over for a while, if you're like the Lions or the Texans, even the Jets, Jags, those types of teams. So you guys are looking forward to 2022. You're looking forward to the offseason. And there's a lot to look forward to. We had one mock draft, our first mock draft come out last Monday. It was pretty raw. I didn't do a bunch of homework on the prospects for that mock draft. But this week I've done tons and tons and tons of homework. I've looked at almost every single potential or riser first-round prospect. With all that being said, let's go ahead and talk about, let's get into this mock draft. First pick, we have the Detroit Lions. I'm going with Kayvon Thibodeaux. That is the consensus pick. But as I watched the tape on him, it makes more sense as to why he is the consensus first-round pick for personal reasons. The one thing that stood out to me the most about Thibodeaux is his ability to comfortably drop back into coverage. A lot of these edge rushers that we have on the board here, Aiden Hutchinson, George Karlaftis, Drake Jackson, David Ojabo, who someone has been rising up boards at an exceptional rate. They look lost when they drop back into coverage. One in particular, Trayvon Walker, doesn't look too comfortable in coverage. Aiden Hutchinson doesn't look comfortable in coverage, but they still have that ability. And Kayvon Thibodeaux, with his freak athleticism, with his freak build, he just looks very comfortable in coverage, and he's more than dominant coming in off the edge. At pick 2, we have the Houston Texans. Last mock, we drafted them. Aiden Hutchinson would still make sense. But the Texans have so many positional needs. They have so many needs of value. They have so many positions where they could take value. Personally, what I think is going to happen in real life, I think they trade back. I think there's so many needs that they'd have to fill. It makes sense to trade back. But because of where we are in the year and because of where we are, how far away the draft is, I'm not going to do trades for a while. I probably won't start doing trades until March. But I think for a team like the Texans that is in the middle of a rebuild or in the beginning of a rebuild, and they still could have a potential extra first-round pick depending on if they trade Deshaun Watson, I think a lot is in play here. And because I drafted edge last time, I'm not going to do it for this mock draft. I think quarterback is definitely in play. Davis Mills hasn't been terrible, but this quarterback draft, I don't think anybody is worth a second overall pick, whether that's Matt Corral, even Malik Willis with his upside. I just don't think it's worth it. So for me, to switch it up a little bit, I know tackle is not a huge need, but you could always upgrade the offensive line. And in a rebuild, I think you really need to solidify your trenches. So for me, I'm going to go with Evan Neal at pick 2. This could be Matt Corral. I think it will be Aiden Hutchinson. But it could, or maybe even Stingley. But I'm going to go with Evan Neal for this draft. Pick 3, New York Jets. This is their owned pick. And I like what they're doing with the defense. They invested into the offensive line last draft with Elijah Vera Tucker. They have Mekhi Becton. But you do need to protect Zach Wilson. But I think there's too much value on the board to go with offensive line at pick 3. You have another pick at pick 7. So I'm going to take, I think that I'm blanking on his name, but their safety's probably going to leave in free agency. Kyle Hamilton is on the board. Derek Stingley's on the board. You could go edge because Keenan Williams has been really owning that D-line for the Jets. He's been the backbone of it for quite some time. But I'm going to go with corner. I'm going to go with best player available. I'm going to go with Derek Stingley at LSU. His draft stock kind of has fallen a little bit. And for good reason, but also not good reason. He has 2 dominant years of basically completely locking down the SEC. This year, he started off with a few bad games and then obviously got hurt. So his draft stock is still falling, but I think he definitely is cornerback 1. I don't think that should change. But pick 4, we have the Jaguars. So the Jaguars could do a lot of things, and I will do a mock draft eventually of where if I was the GM of every team, what I would pick. And for me, if I was the GM of the Jaguars, I think you have to protect Trevor Lawrence. He is the future of your franchise. He is the quarterback that's supposed to take you to Super Bowls and to bring one home to Jacksonville for the first time. But I think there's too much value on the board. They need edge help. Aiden Hutchinson is still here. They need safety help with Kyle Hamilton. I'm going to go ahead and take Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan. I think he is a huge He's one of the best edge rushers in the class. He's definitely edge 2. I don't think there's too much of a difference or too much of a gap as it would seem between Kayvon Thibodeau and Aiden Hutchinson. I really did think Aiden Hutchinson could be the number 1 overall pick above Thibodeau, but the more tape I watched, it kind of made sense as to why Thibodeau is the number 1 overall pick, or the consensus number 1 overall pick. All of this could change throughout the duration of the college football season and going into pro days and all that stuff, but I like Aiden Hutchinson for the Jaguars. Put him on the other side of Josh Allen, and you really have a good defensive front there in Jacksonville. Pick 5, this is, I believe, I forget whose pick this is. But we have the Eagles, and quarterback is definitely in play, but where I'm at with the Eagles is you have Jalen Hurts, I'm not a huge Jalen Hurts believer. I never have been. But I think that he's played good enough this season, and his sample size is way too small to move off of him just yet. You do need to help a receiver. Your offensive line is aging. But Jalen Hurts hasn't even played a full season of starts yet. So I think that it kind of would be foolish with pick 5 to take a quarterback, maybe with pick 11 or pick 15. I think it would make sense for the Eagles to trade one of these picks, move back in the draft, or get capital for 2023. But because we're not doing trades in this draft, we're going to go with what we have. At pick 5, there's so much need the Eagles have. Cornerback 2 is a big issue for the Eagles. They need safety help desperately. And for that reason, I'm going to go with the best player available, and it does fill a positional need. That's Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame. This kid is like a better Jamal Adams. He can line up in the box. He can play. He could cover out of the slot. He also is a great coverage safety. He could do it all. So I really like Kyle Hamilton for the Eagles here. I think that they definitely cannot pass him if he were to fall at 5. Safeties usually don't go in the top 5, but this is kind of an exception because Kyle Hamilton is such a freak of an athlete. But pick 6 with the New York Giants, I think the Giants have not had a clear evaluation of Daniel Jones with how much turmoil this kid has had to overcome. And obviously he's not a Justin Herbert who could break every rookie record for a quarterback with a 32nd ranked offensive line, but he is a quarterback who was on pace to break the rookie passing record. He was on pace to break Baker Mayfield's record before Justin Herbert did, but he missed 2 games. Plus, now they have Jason Garrett, who's basically strangled this offense, and he's had injuries with Saquon. He's had injuries with his receivers that they got him. He just really hasn't had a good go at it, or a fair go at it, I guess is a better way to put that. And in the small sample size that we had this season where the Giants' offensive line was playing well, when Andrew Thomas was playing before he got hurt, when Nick Gates was playing before he got hurt, Daniel Jones did grade inside the top 10 according to PFF. So I'm not going to go quarterback. I think that is a discussion for next year, depending on how Daniel Jones plays this next season. But for me, I'm going to go with someone who I personally love. He's one of my favorite players in this draft. They have him listed as a guard. He definitely could play guard at a very high level. He also could play tackle at a very high level. And that's Ike Mekwonu. I think this kid might be one of the best offensive linemen from this draft when it's said and done. If you watch his tape, he's just constantly putting people on their back. He played left guard last season, and now he's playing left tackle for NC State. I think he plays both at a very, very high level. The Giants do need help on their right tackle position. They have Matt Parrott there, who's not playing bad, or they have Matt Parrott playing at left tackle, excuse me. And then they have Nate Solder, who's like the worst offensive lineman in the NFL. So I think Ike Mekwonu is a huge gain here. He's a great run blocker. He does, in my opinion, he needs development in the pass game. He's by no means bad, but he definitely can get better. Especially if he's going to play right tackle, which is easier than left tackle in the NFL. And if they want to put him at guard, I think he'll be an elite guard right away. But pick 7, we have the New York Jets. This is the Seattle Seahawks pick. For their first pick, we went Stingley. They need edge help. I think they still do need corner help. But, if we look at the edge, we have George Karlaftis just sitting here. If we look at cornerback, we have Andrew Booth, who is a great athlete. He's kind of raw. Kaiir Elam is he's probably my cornerback too at the moment. He's been hurt, but people just don't throw at him when he does play. I think he's that good of a player. I think he's kind of this draft's J.C. Horn, and he's going at a similar spot as J.C. Horn if we were to draft him here. But they also do need offensive line help. The right side of the line is very poor. They have Mekhi Becton and Elijah Vera Tucker on the left at left tackle and left guard. They need a tackle. They need guard help. But I think with Robert Saleh, what he's going to want to do for this draft, I think he's going to want to address the defense and win games through the defense. So for that reason, I'm going to go with George Karlaftis out of Purdue. He's a great pass rusher. He doesn't have the most bend is a term that you're going to hear a lot as we talk about edge rushers. But in terms of pure like strength and bull rush ability, he's one of the best in the draft at that. And I think that's going to take this Jets D-line to the next level. But we'll see. I like Karlaftis here. I think he's a great prospect. He definitely will go inside the top 10. We have the Giants again at pick 8. I think that the Giants should definitely double dip at on the offensive line. Edge is a position of need. You have David Ojabo, who's probably going to play himself into the top 15. He's flying up the draft board. I really like David Ojabo out of Michigan. My brother is a huge fan. Turned me on to David Ojabo. Great player. But if we look at the tackles, you have Charles Cross, Nicholas Petit-Frere, Trevor Penning, who I think Trevor Penning is going to play inside the top 15 as well. But for me, I'm going to go with best player available, and I think that's between Kenyon Green and Tyler Linderbaum. Last draft, I mocked Kenyon Green and Tyler Linderbaum to the Giants. I think Tyler Linderbaum is the most in play, just being with how bad Billy Price is. Kenyon Green, to me, is probably one of the most pro-ready offensive linemen in this draft. He could play guard. He could play tackle. He does it all, and he does it all at a very, very high level. He's, again, probably the most pro-ready offensive lineman in this year's draft. I love Tyler Linderbaum, though. I watched the Iowa-Purdue game, and as that offensive line basically vanished, Tyler Linderbaum was the only one who held his ground and was able to open up holes in the run game. He's a wrestler, wrestling background, very, very strong. He's a little bit undersized, and he is a center, so it is kind of crazy to see a center go in the top 10. But a lot of people say he's going to have a similar effect to Quentin Nelson. I'm not too on board with that just yet because Quentin Nelson went top 5, and Quentin Nelson is that good. I don't know if Tyler Linderbaum is going to be that good. I think he can be, but right now I'm not sure. I think Linderbaum is definitely in play here and definitely who I want to draft, but the Giants just have so many holes in that offensive line. They have Matt Parrott who could play right tackle. Ika Iguanu would fill that left guard role, and Kenyon Green would fill that right guard role, and they would be in a very, very good spot. So for that reason, I'm going to go with Kenyon Green. I think Kenyon Green's the pick here. Tyler Linderbaum is someone I love in this draft and someone I really want to take, but I'm going to go with Kenyon Green. Next, we have Washington football. I think that Washington's defense has so many holes in it that doesn't really make sense because of how elite they were in 2020. Except Chase Young did just tear his ACL this past weekend, if you didn't know. But I think quarterback is definitely in play. I think safety is their biggest positional need. I think Janoris Jenkins is their safety. He is horrible. Maybe it's not Janoris Jenkins. But I just don't think there's any safeties that are worth being picked in the top 9 besides Kyle Hamilton. I think you have to go quarterback here. We went Matt Corral last time, and I really want to go Matt Corral again. I think that this Washington's offense is really, really underrated. Brandon Sheriff came back, and apparently without Brandon Sheriff, Washington's win percentage is 13%, but with Brandon Sheriff, it's 49% or 48%, so you're basically flipping a coin if this guy plays. And they did just beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think with Washington, though, they need a quarterback who can play now, which is why I'm not too into the Malik Willis pick here. I like Kenny Pickett a lot. I think Kenny Pickett's going to play himself to be the third or second quarterback off the board. I think Malik Willis or Matt Corral will probably stay first. But we mocked Corral last time. We're gonna mock him again. I think he definitely is the right pick here. He's mobile. He can throw with velocity. His timing is actually pretty exceptional. I think the thing you want to see with Matt Corral though is post snap. You want to see him elevate his game there. I think he just needs faster processing, and behind that Washington offensive line, he will have time. So I think that this is a kid who could play now and he can create on his own, and he has the intangibles to be good. Maybe you bench him for a year, but if you re-sign Fitzpatrick or if you let Heineke play for another year, I don't know. But I think Matt Corral definitely is a pick here. Pick 10, you have Miami Dolphins, and the thing about the Dolphins is they are definitely in play for the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. I think more so than not. I think the three teams it boils down to is Miami, Denver, and Carolina. But I think if you were to leave everything as it is, there's two correct picks here. One of them being Tyler Linderbaum, center, or you go, which I think what we're going to do is take a receiver. I think that Devontae Parker probably is going to leave in free agency. I think that Jalen Waddle needs to be opened up more in this offense. I think they kind of have him on a leash, but not because of his skill set, because of Tua's skill set. And I think that when you let Waddle go down the field and throw it to him, good things happen. We just saw them beat the Ravens, and I think that was the most Jalen Waddle has caught the ball down the field all season. And that's even with Jacoby Brissett playing. So that's really not a knock on Tua. It's more of a knock on the offensive coordinator and the coaching. But I want to go receiver here. I think that the receiver to take is Garrett Wilson. He probably is the best receiver in the class. You definitely could go Olave. I just think with Garrett Wilson, you can have Jalen Waddle go attack vertically and attack out of the slot, while at the same time you could have Garrett Wilson attack out of the slot and vertically. They're both two. I think Jalen Waddle is probably a better Garrett Wilson. So they'll have two good receivers for Tua to mess around with if they don't go and get Deshaun Watson. But I think that definitely if you don't go receiver, I think Tyler Linderbaum or some of the other linemen on the board are definitely in play. I think that I'm just trying to look at them real quick. Charles Cross is definitely in play if you want to go tackle. Linderbaum is probably the pick. Darian Kennard wouldn't be a bad pick. He's playing tackle, but a lot of people have him viewed as a guard going into this draft. But pick 11, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. This is their second pick. This is where I can start to see them start to trade down. I'm not going to go quarterback for them. I think that they need to give Jalen Hurts more time, and I think that they have Darius Slay, who's having a very good year. He had a setback last year, but now he's playing very well. I'm going to go with Kaiir Elam. I think Darius Slay to groom Kaiir Elam and Kaiir Elam's playmaking ability and his length are just really too good to pass up. He is my cornerback too, as of right now. But I think that that's definitely the right pick there for the Eagles if they're not going to go quarterback, which I think is they also go offensive line. Linderbaum is still there, and you don't know if Jason Kelce's going to retire, so that might be the pick come April if Linderbaum is still on the board and Jason Kelce's gone. But let's go to the Eagles. Eagles need a lot of help. I think that for me, probably going to go edge with this one. And I think the two picks for me are David Ojabo or Trayvon Walker. Trayvon Walker already being in Georgia, there is that fit there. The other pick for me would probably be to address the interior defensive line and go with Jordan Davis, who's more of a true interior defensive lineman, where DeMarvin Leal can play both. He could play the edge, he could play the lineman. His size makes him very flexible at where you want to play him. But for me, I'm going to go edge. I'm going to go with Trayvon Walker. Yeah, I'm going to go with Trayvon Walker. I think just being from Georgia and his ability to drop back into coverage, and he has pretty good bend off the edge. I like Trayvon Walker here. I think he's going to move. A lot of people have him mocked inside the top 10, which is I'm not there yet, but I think he is going to be a very good pick at pick 12, especially for the Falcons, who desperately need edge help. Then we have the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings are in a very interesting spot because they can... They're still in the playoff hunt, being the wild card. They also probably are going to start to rebuild because they're probably going to clean house and fire Mike Zimmer and get their GM. But I think taking a corner here makes a lot of sense because they're at a spot where if they do rebuild, let's say like not next year but the year after, and they take a high skill potential corner, he'll be ready. He'll be a lockdown corner by the time they're ready to compete again. I'm going to take Ahmad Gardner. I'm not a huge Cincinnati guy. I think Cincinnati is probably one of the most overhyped teams in college football. But I think that every time I watch them, Ahmad Gardner is the only player that stands out. I'm not a Desmond Ridder guy. I think Ahmad Gardner is going to be a very good corner in the NFL. So I like that pick for the Vikings a lot. You could go Andrew Booth. I just think Andrew Booth, he's a player that's very raw in my opinion. And if you're going to be flipping coaches, if you get it wrong, you could stunt his growth where Ahmad Gardner is more ready now. So that's why I went with Gardner. But at pick 14, we have the Denver Broncos. Quarterback is definitely in play. Malik Willis is still on the board. Just a very good pick. But I think that it's tough. It's very tough because they're in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. They could definitely go quarterback. Sam Howell, I don't feel comfortable taking him at 14. I think he would go later, if anything. Malik Willis makes sense here just because of the ceiling. Maybe they want to get in on a quarterback that has they haven't really drafted a quarterback ever with a high ceiling. They passed on Justin Fields last season. Drew Lock, not as mobile as Malik Willis or Justin Fields. Not as mobile as Matt Corral. Not as mobile as Teddy Bridgewater. I just think that they might want the high upside player here, or they could go tackle. Charles Cross is still on the board. I'm not a huge Charles Cross fan, though, because he is playing well, but one thing I think that's going to come to bite him in the butt when he gets to the NFL is every tape I've watched of Charles Cross, he gets pushed back and then sets the anchor, so to speak. And I think that at the NFL level, if he's on his heels more than he's on his toes, he's going to get knocked down. So I really want to see him change that, because I think that when you play better, he is at Mississippi State, but when you play better talent, I don't think that that's going to fly. So if I were to go tackle here, I'd probably go Trevor Penning over Charles Cross or Petit Frere. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think it's Frere. Tough pick. I think you got to go QB, though. I just think that this team is ready to win, and the window is closing. I think you go Malik Willis. I think that's the pick. He's just fallen too far on the board, in my opinion. If he doesn't get taken here, he probably would get taken by the Eagles, even if they want to experiment with Jalen Hurts for another year. I just think that it's too. I think if you draft him, Jalen Hurts plays well, you just increase Jalen Hurts' trade stock more than, vice versa. But or if he plays bad, then you're stuck with nothing, and you have to look to next year for the draft. Pick 15 for the Eagles. We went corner, we went safety. I think we go defense again. DeMarvin Leal is still on the board. We haven't gone edge. I think for me, I'm going to go David Ojabo out of Michigan. I think this is a home run draft for the Eagles so far. You get a lockdown safety, you get a great corner too, and then you get a phenomenal edge rusher in David Ojabo. I think this is a home run draft for the Eagles. But at pick 16, interior offensive line is not a position to need. They just drafted, or they just re-signed, what's his name? Joel Benito. They also have like the best guard combo in the NFL. So I'm not sure why that's there. Could go interior defensive line here. Jordan Davis is still on the board. DeMarvin Leal is still on the board. Could go edge. Not too sure what I want to do with this one. You could go receiver as well. Odell Beckham is gone. Jarvis Landry really shouldn't be your wide receiver one, and then you have Donovan Peoples-Jones. Receiver makes sense. It's a flashy pick. I think that they're solid enough on the edge with Myles Garrett, and their interior is not bad. I think wide receiver is actually a way bigger need than anything else. But again, Baker Mayfield doesn't really throw the ball that much. Tough pick. I think I'm going to go with the best player available, and that, to me, is Jordan Davis. So, fun fact, everybody thinks Jordan Davis is 26. But apparently there's another Jordan Davis who played at Georgia for tight end, who is not this Jordan Davis. This Jordan Davis, I think, is 22. Do you want to go Jordan Davis? I'm going to go DeMarvin Leal because he could play on the edge, and you can line him up on the inside as well. His size makes him that flexible. Let me see. He is 6'4", 290. All the other edge prospects, like if we go to Thibodeau, is not nearly that. Okay, he's an exception. He's 6'5". But again, he's also 30 pounds lighter. Aiden Hutchinson, 20 pounds lighter. I just think that he has big enough size where if you have a good defensive coordinator, you could get very creative with him, and the Browns are definitely in a Super Bowl window. So I think best player available makes the most sense. We have the Bengals at pick 17. And if this is how the draft board plays out, this will be a gift from God. That Tyler Linderbaum is still on the board. So that is definitely going to be the pick here. Definitely want to protect Joe Burrow. Definitely want to help the run blocking on that offensive line because it is terrible. Joe Mixon will have like 26 rushes in a game and get like 85 yards because there's just nowhere to run. I love Tyler Linderbaum. I think he's going to be a great piece for Joe Burrow and keep him safe. I think if we didn't go with Tyler Linderbaum, this next player will definitely have been the pick, and that to me is going to be Trevor Penning. I think for the Raiders, you have to go tackle because Alex Leatherwood was a reach, and he is, according to PFF, is one of the worst starting tackles in the NFL. If not, he might be ranking below people that aren't starting and playing tackle. I think this is no disrespect to Alex Leatherwood. I love Alex Leatherwood. I just think that he definitely was a reach, and he definitely needs time to develop to play the position they need him to play. I think if you get Penning, you could put Leatherwood at right guard and put Penning at tackle, and you actually completely fix the right side of your offensive line. Now, it's not to say that Alex Leatherwood's going to be a home run at guard, but they have put him at guard this season, and I think he's played better at guard than he has at tackle. Next up, Carolina Panthers. They need a quarterback bad. They need a left tackle bad. Malik Willis would have been the pick here if he was still available. For me, Sam Howell, you could keep him in Carolina. Makes sense. But I have my doubts about Sam Howell. I think he definitely is moving up draft boards. For me, Kenny Pickett makes a lot of sense. You want someone who, like this Panthers team, the defense is going to be better that next year is what a lot of people aren't realizing. J.C. Horn's going to be back. You have Stephon Gilmore. It also was the youngest defense in 2020, and it's getting better together. And now you have a desperate need at quarterback. Sam Darnold is just not it. I thought he would be better, and he was better for 3 games, and then he just died. But Sam Howell makes sense. But for me, Kenny Pickett is my quarterback 3, so I'm gonna rock with that. I think Kenny Pickett can come into this offense. He's more pro-ready than any of them. I think he's the most pro-ready, above Matt Corral, above Sam Howell, above Desmond Ridder, definitely above Malik Willis. I think that this definitely is the pick here if you go quarterback and Malik Willis is off the board. Because if Malik Willis is on the board, you sign Cam for another year and let Malik Willis play behind him and learn. Because that's like the perfect breed for like a baby Deshaun Watson, in my opinion. I think Malik Willis' upside could be that high. He has a rocket of an arm. You just need to see him develop, especially with like post-snap stuff. We talked about with Matt Corral with that stuff. Same thing with Malik Willis. He needs to develop his post-snap progressions faster. He needs to be able to operate faster. And that'll come with time and coaching. But right now, he's a quarterback who you definitely need to bench for a year. Kind of similar to like Justin Fields at the beginning of this year, but that didn't last too long. Pick 20, we have the Los Angeles Charger. To me, the pick here for certain is 2 people. Now, Jordan Davis is still on the board, which makes a lot of sense. The problem is Jordan Davis' sample size is incredibly small. He's only playing like 22 snaps a game, 22% or 22 snaps a game, I forget. Excuse me. But so you could go there, which he just sit him at nose tackle and he just plugs up the middle, and then you kind of fix the Chargers' run stopping issue. Or, no, not what I'm looking for. Linebacker. You could go Devin Lloyd, who's probably going to come in and be a better Mike linebacker than, let's say, Nakobe Dean, who probably will play a will linebacker. I love Nakobe Dean. I think he's the best linebacker in the class above Devin Lloyd. Brandon Smith's playing very well. Christian Harris is playing very well. But to me, this pick is between these two or Jordan Davis. And I think with how pressing of a need that the interior defensive line is above the linebacker spot, even though linebackers help with stopping the run, I'm going to go with Jordan Davis. This also could be an edge, but just with who's left on the board, I am completely off of Drake Jackson. I think that he is, every tape I watched, he's just not creating pressure. He gets misdirected so easily, and he's not bendable. He does not have good bend. So I'm out on Drake Jackson for now until something crazy happens. But I'm going to go with Jordan Davis. I think this is another gift from God like Tyler Linderbaum. Jordan Davis falling to pick 20, which is totally reasonable. Definitely would be the Chargers pick here. And obviously he'd be asked to play a lot more, but definitely the right pick. Then we have the Saints, where you go a lot of different ways here. I'm I'm not going to go quarterback. I think that, Jameis Winston was playing well. I think Jameis Winston is going to come back and continue to play good enough for another year. To me, you either go wide receiver or corner, just being that Booth is still on the board, McDuffie's still here, Roger McCreary has played himself into the first round. But I'm going to go wide receiver. I think if you pair Jameis Winston with Michael Thomas and one of these guys, completely different ball game. I think Chris Olave makes a lot of sense, but I'm going to go with Jameson Williams. I think Jameson Williams might be the fastest receiver in this class. Drake London makes sense, but you already have Michael Thomas, who, despite only running majority of his routes as slants, he can do it all. The reason why he was running so many slants was because Drew Brees' arm was decaying beyond belief. Now you could open up Michael Thomas down the field, let him run vertically, and you have Jameis Winston, who could be a terror, like absolute terror underneath, who also has the capability to go deep. Pick 22. We have the New England Patriots. This, to me, again, is corner or wide receiver. You have Olave here. You have Andrew Booth here. Traylon Burks makes a lot of sense. Drake London makes a lot of sense. I'm going to go with Chris Olave, though. I think he makes the most sense with how their team is, their offense is schemed with a lot of short routes. Chris Olave, you're going to hear this a lot about him when come draft time. Everything about him is smooth. His routes are smooth. His releases are smooth. Everything about him makes sense, and he can attack the shallow to intermediate parts of the field. This makes a lot of sense. It does make a lot of sense for them to take Andrew Booth here, which would be a great pick. But I think they go receiver. I think they just need a good receiver, and they just don't have it as like an elite receiver. And I think Chris Olave might not be an elite receiver, but he could be a very talented receiver. If we were to go the elite wide receiver, like alpha wide receiver 1 route, probably go Traylon Burks, maybe Drake London. Not a huge Jahan Dotson guy. But yeah, I think it'd be between these two if we didn't go Olave. But Olave was the best receiver available on the board, so we're going to take him. And not this board, I mean my board. But Chiefs, I think you have to go defense here. Nothing else is in play. Could go safety. But I think you have to go corner, especially when Chiefs catching another break like they usually do. Andrew Booth is here. That is 100% the pick. He has the highest upside of any of these guys left. Plus, like, they just need help. Sorensen ain't it. Matthew needs help in the secondary. Definitely go cornerback here. For me, with the Bucs, this comes down to 2 players or 2 positions. Again, it is either going to be Trent McDuffie, cornerback, or Roger McCreary, cornerback, or we're going to go wide receiver because of Mike Evans is old. Chris Godwin might leave in free agency. Yeah, they also could go running back, which does make sense. Just being that Leonard Fournette, I think, is on a 1 year. What do we want to do here? I like Drake London, especially if Tom Brady's there. I just want to see who's taller. He's 6'5". Yeah, I'm going to go with Drake London. Just because he kind of shut up his doubters this season. He had like 800 yards or 700 yards in 8 games. He was on an incredible pace and then broke his ankle. I think he would definitely take the Mike Evans role in this offense right away. Hopefully they could re-sign Chris Godwin. If they don't sign Chris Godwin, then they're going to need to take probably a different style of receiver. They could go Dotson here. They could go Burks here if they want another big threat. But Burks can do anything. I really like Traylon Burks. Pick 25 is the Steelers. I think, though, quarterback makes sense. These guys don't really make a strong case for me to be in the first round. So I think you go best player available, and for me, that's Darian Kinnard. He's playing right tackle, but he's probably going to play guard in the NFL, and his scheme fit is definitely for a run-heavy offense, which the Pittsburgh Steelers are picking. So we're going to go with Darian Kinnard. I think that's definitely the right pick for the Steelers here. Pick 26, we have the Baltimore Ravens. They need secondary help, and I think that corner makes sense here. Just being with the injuries they've sustained this offseason at running back and D-back. I think I'm going to go with Trent McDuffie. Great pick for the Ravens. Exceptional value with where he's taken. McDuffie could do it all. I think he's going to be a prospect who actually creeps in higher into the first round than currently being mocked at. Pick 27, you absolutely cannot trust Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff is just a poop sandwich. He really he cost the Lions the win against the Steelers this past weekend. He just is not good. However, the Lions have an early second-round pick. This is the Rams pick they're picking at. That's why they're not going quarterback with the first overall pick. So for me, I think you draft best player available here. And for me, I think they desperately need a wide receiver. And for that reason, I'm going with Treylon Burks. The Lions have their two leading leaders in receiving yards are DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson, and neither of them play wide receiver. They need a wide receiver desperately. That's why I'm taking Treylon Burks. And then I think they have the first pick in the second round. Sam Howell is going to be here. None of these guys are going to take a quarterback. Sam Howell will be here. None of these guys will be here. None of these guys are taking a quarterback. Well, the Packers might. Packers actually might. But Sam Howell's here. Desmond Ritter's here. Carson Strong's here, who has a great arm. One of these three is good. I think I go Sam Howell there at 2-1. But anyway, pick 28 is the Dallas Cowboys. You got to go either edge or safety. We mocked safety last time. We're going to mock it again. I just think with these guys being left on the board, the safety of my choice would be Kingsley and Agbarie. But I think that you can move Micah Parsons off the edge, and he's grading out as one of the best edge rushers in the NFL, not as a rookie in the NFL. So I think you kind of have a little bit of wiggle room there. This edge class is very deep as well. I'm going to go safety, and my safety of choice for these guys, it's either Daxton Hill or Jordan Battle, but I'm going to go with Jordan Battle. I think Jordan Battle is an exceptional safety for Alabama. I think he's going to play very well in the NFL. But yeah, pick 29. I'm going to kind of make a fun pick here. They need interior offensive line help, right? This is true. It's very true. Zion Johnson, definitely in play here. Alec Lindstrom, in play here. A lot of these guys are in play. I just don't know if they're first-round talents. Interior D-line. I don't think Perion Winfrey is first-round talent. Maybe. But I think that some of these guys will go in the second, and I think the most glaring weakness the Bills have is at running back. And we could go Kenneth Walker here, which makes a lot of sense. 5'10", 210 estimated. I think Zach Charbonnet makes more sense for a 3-down back, which is what they need because Zach Moss is not it. Devin Singletary is not it. Matt Breida is definitely not it. I think at 220, 6'1", he's more of a workhorse than Kenneth Walker. But Kenneth Walker is playing his way into a Heisman. I think you got to go Kenneth Walker here if you're going to take one. More upside. You're going to need him to put on some more weight. I like Zach Charbonnet here a lot, actually. But let's go with Kenneth Walker this time around. If the Bills move back in the draft, maybe we'll go Charbonnet. And another team that, in my opinion, needs a running back, but they don't at the same time because James Conner's career was somehow revived. Here we have the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to go with Roger McCreary from Auburn. Great corner. He's playing himself deeper into the first round. He has the potential to go into this top 20 realm or this top 25 realm, I think. Just a lot of these teams don't need corners. That's why he's falling all the way to pick 30. I don't think it really has anything to do with him. But then at pick 31, we have the Tennessee Titans, and we're going to have our first linebacker off the board. I'm going to go with... I'm going to go with Nakobe Dean. I just like Nakobe Dean better than Devin Lloyd. He has just a nose for the ball. He's always where the play is. He's always involved. The only thing with Nakobe Dean that I'm kind of a little bit worried about is his size. In coverage, he's a little bit small. He's only 6 feet tall versus Micah Parsons, who's like 6'3". But I think Nakobe Dean's skill set, he's one of the most talented linebackers, if not the most talented linebacker in the draft. I would actually kind of be shocked if he went this late. Just a lot of teams have more pressing needs than linebacker, which is the only issue. Then at pick 32, we have the Green Bay Packers, and this to me is wide receiver every single time. Newsflash, Devontae Adams won't be there. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be there. That's why I said they might go quarterback. But I'm going to go with Jahan Dotson. I think they're going to need, especially if Jordan Love is a guy, he's going to need someone he can make chemistry with. He's going to need a receiver. They have Amari Rodgers, who's going to work out of the slot. I think Jahan Dotson, 5'11", he could attack that interior, the intermediate part of the field, from the perimeter. I don't think that Amari Rodgers is ever going to be that guy, even though Amari Rodgers is very talented. But that's going to do it for this mock draft. This is Mock Draft 2.0. Let me know how you liked it. Hopefully I got your favorite team's pick right, or at least position right. If I didn't, go ahead and leave a comment. Tell me what I did wrong. Tell me what you want and why I shouldn't have taken who I took. But with all that being said, please like, comment, subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot. And we have more content coming out on YouTube this week. Fantasy stuff's going to be up tomorrow. Power rankings will be up probably Wednesday or tomorrow. But yeah, let me know what you think about this mock draft. And let me know what you want to see from the channel. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that goodness. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!